vlog time. So who wants to hear some more horror stories? Let's talk about dating website scenarios. Since my Walmart stories seem to be fairly popular, I'm going to turn off my phone here. So today I'm actually a tad depressed, and a friend of mine suggested maybe I should talk about it on camera. You know, it might be healthy or good for me to talk about it. So I've been on the dating website scene, as I intimated on the podcast a while ago, for last couple of years. I've done a few different ones that were specifically straight websites because I am bisexual, and there are a lot of websites that, you know, either you're straight or you're gay. You know, you can't be bisexual or just in the middle or anything like that, because God forbid. And a lot of those straight websites that I was on just turned out to be a lot of bullshit. Just women, quote-unquote women, just wasting your time and, you know, and talking about meeting up and then changing their mind and things like that. And, you know, it was a type of website that you had to pay in order to, you know, keep sending messages and keep talking to people. So it was just a ongoing scam. So finally I just got tired of it. And lately I've been on two other websites, POF and OkCupid. POF I've been off and on, kind of the same with OkCupid, but POF was a lot worse because there were just so many local guys who would not even talk to me. Just wouldn't even give me the time of day. And it doesn't help either that they allow them to set their profile so that only specific people, however that works, can message them or talk to them. I don't know entirely what that means. Maybe that means that only people of like a specific age range or who knows what can message them and talk to them, which feels like a load of bullshit, especially when in their profile they're like, oh, I'm perfectly open to talk to whoever. No, you're not. If I can't message you to even say hi or try to even get a conversation going. And a lot of my bouts with OkCupid now, and I will say this, for a good majority of a lot of dating websites that I've been on, even some that are like no longer existent, I have been lucky enough to be able to meet some guys who I'm still friends with, some of which I have on Facebook and various other things. That's how I met my friend Coulter. That's how I met quite a few other people who I still talk to on occasion and am still friends with. So that's good. But the rest of the time, and I've actually had to change my profile to try and weed out people who are only looking to experiment or just looking for fuck buddies and shit like that. You know, because, you know, and I'll freely admit, I did the whole fuck buddy and experimenting thing like years ago. You know, when I was first, you know, becoming, well, not really first, but when I really became sexually active, which wasn't until like my late 20s, because after I got out of high school, and while I was in high school in my last year, that was when I first started experimenting a little bit, but only with one person, which just happened to be a good friend of mine. And then after that, it just sort of stopped, because actually it really ruined our friendship. And after high school, I just started working and just focused on working. And, you know, and because I have very low self-esteem and confidence issues and stuff like that, and it's hard for me to just walk up and talk to any stranger without the horrible feeling of rejection, because how I feel about it is if I were to walk up to somebody and start a conversation with them, you know, I would ultimately, you know, because from my perspective, if I were to have somebody to just randomly walk up to me in a public setting, like if I was at a video store or anything like that, and some random person just walked up to me and started trying to have a conversation with me, that would be a little weird. And the whole time I'd be thinking, would you please go away and stop talking to me? You know, and that's kind of how I feel it would go if I were to try to do that. So, and I just get uncomfortable, and, you know, I just can't do it. I just can't do it at all. And whereas it's very different online because you don't really have to worry about actually facing this person. So, And maybe you can actually try to warm up and then get to know each other, and then if you feel comfortable, you can try to meet. If they're local, that is. Because I've actually only met maybe a few local guys online who then were interested enough in meeting. But that would usually go the same route where we would meet, they would want sex, and then they would never talk to me again. Which always kind of made me wonder, was the sex really that bad? I don't know. But, and what's been so annoying lately, and I actually had to change my profile on OkCupid, because, and I mean, I don't get it a lot, but when I do, it's always, like I had a guy, I mean, I talked about this on the podcast, I had a guy one night, he looked at my profile, and then later he messaged me, but I didn't get the message until after I got home from work that night. And I always get guys who, like, every once in a while, you know, where they just try to hit me up randomly for sex. And this is a guy who just randomly messaged me saying, hey, you want to have sex? And it's just like, really? Dude, no. I mean, does that really look like what my profile says is all I'm looking for? And I'll freely admit, I love sex as much as the next guy. But I'm not the kind of guy who these days, I just want a one-night stand and then that's it. I'm done with that. I've had that, and I'm done with it. I want something that's gonna last. You know, I want a relationship. You know, sure, maybe a fuck buddy that could turn into something more would also be nice, but I did that too, and that didn't work out either. And I'm just kind of done with just fucking around. And that's all I really seem to get lately, is guys just want to fuck around and then want nothing more to do with me. And I'm done with it. So I had to actually go in and actually edit my profile to basically say, if all you're looking for is sex, experimentation, a fuck buddy, don't message me and don't waste my fucking time. Because I'm done with it, and I'm tired of it. I don't think I'm going to post this, so it's just, I think really my worst experience that I ever had was when I met Ryan. I met him on OkCupid, and he seemed nice, and and he lived here in Boise, and so we met up, I think, the same night that we started talking. One of the rare occasions of meeting a guy and we didn't fool around when we first got together. I'm actually glad that we never fooled around or had sex. Hell, I'm glad that we never even went on our date that we were supposed to. Because turns out the guy was a verbally abusive asshole. And, you know, he would always talk down to me, tell me how I hadn't really done much with my life, how I'm obviously very sheltered, and, you know, and I will admit, a lot of that is true. It is. I am very sheltered. I do lock myself off a lot of the time in my room. And I know, it's not something I can just change overnight or just change like that, and not really something I really feel like changing, ultimately. And, you know, and he would just kind of beat me down a little bit, you know, tell me that I'm a loser, that I hadn't really done anything, and on top of that, he would kind of use me for certain things. Well, you know, like he would always make me buy him alcohol every single time I came over. Kind of a repeat of what happened with another guy I was with for a little while. Only difference was that he wasn't verbally abusive, he was just really boring. Well, now you got Ryan, who thinks he knows everything, and on top of that, like, what was a little bit of a kicker was that he goes off on at one point about how, like, he's got all these, and this is how he says it, I've got all these great guys around me, and, like, they all want to be with me, and they're making things of themselves, you know, and they're doing these great things, and the whole time I'm thinking, then why don't you go be with them if they're obviously so much better than I am? You know? You know, and just about every single night after we would, you know, finish being together, after he would go home and I would go home, I would just be furious, pissed off at myself and him, because I didn't stand up for myself, because I didn't once tell him to shut the fuck up, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and if these guys are so fucking great, then why does he quit wasting my time and his and just go fuck off and go be with them? And I mean, finally it came to a head where I kind of called him on it, but I called him on it via fucking message, as if that wasn't passive aggressive enough. And he apologizes, said that he was really drunk and that he didn't mean it, he was sorry, you know. And then last time we hang out, I bring him over to my house. And we're hanging out, and, well, two things come up. One, he makes me an ultimatum. Where, see, I don't drink. I don't smoke, I don't do drugs or anything like that. It's not because I don't, you know, it's just not my thing. And he makes me an ultimatum where he wants me to go out to a bar with him and drink. And he says that if I don't do it, he'll never talk to me again. So there's a perfectly good opening right there. Like, well, I don't plan on doing that, so I suppose you can just fuck right off. And then, to add just a little bit of extra shit on top of this little sundae, he says, so the other night, when I said all that shit, I was only mildly buzzed, but I meant it. And after that, he went home. And I thought about it for a little while, and I talked to my sister about it, but basically asking her, like, hey, so if somebody made you an ultimatum about do this for them, and if you don't, you'll never talk, they'll never talk to you again, what would you do? And she said, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves. That's a very good point. And so I thought about it, and finally I sent him a rant over Facebook, just saying that, kind of saying in a way, like, I'm done with your bullshit. I'm sick and tired of how you make me feel every single goddamn time I'm with you, where you make me feel like shit every single time I'm with you. And I don't deserve that. I really don't. And ever since then, I've cut ties with him. And that was probably the worst experience that I've ever had. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. He could have beat me up. He could have stole money from me. And who knows what, but thankfully he didn't. Well, because if he was beating me up, my sister would have wanted to kill him. I mean, that's for damn sure. So, actually now that I think about it, I kind of wish that maybe he did hit me, because, you know, because then I could have told my family about it, and then my sister would have wanted to know where this piece of shit lived, so she could confront him and beat the shit out of him in return. But yeah. It's just, I put up with a lot of shit, and, you know, and I can't help but wonder, like, why is it so hard to just find somebody, you know, and the sad thing is that there are good guys out there, you know, there are good guys, girls, transgenders, you know, gender really doesn't matter to me. All that matters is, are you interested? Would you want to talk? Would you want to meet up? Would you want to date? Maybe see what happens? But the one thing that always gets in the way for me is that, despite the fact that you might be a good guy or a good girl or anything like that, is that the level of attractiveness with me is a bit of a fuck up for me. Because I always get guys that I'm not physically attracted to at all, who, you know, will message me and try to want to talk to me and maybe see where things go. And that always kind of sucks, because the whole time I'm thinking, I'm sorry, man, but I'm not attracted to you. I'm sorry. Because the worst of it was when I was on POF, I had this guy message me. You know, and we talked for a little while, and he seemed nice, but I wasn't attracted to him. I mean, he was a big guy. He was a bit of a big guy. And then one night, it finally comes to a head, where he hits me up, you know, just saying, hey, what's up, and just kind of starts from there, and then the inevitable, I'm actually really horny tonight. You know, this is what he says. It's like, okay. It's like, it's going in that direction where I think it's going to go. And then says to me, you know, you're really cute. It's like, okay. And this was like years ago. And I go, okay, well, I gotta nip this in the butt, because, I mean, I'm not interested in him like that. And, I mean, I did my best to let him down. Obviously, I should have worded this better. And I said, I'm sorry, but to be friends, you know, we can still keep talking if you want to. And then he starts backpedaling and starts saying, well, you're not really my type either. And it's just like, really? So because weren't you just throwing yourself at me like a minute ago? And then starts saying shit like, oh, well, good luck on Craigslist. It's like, okay,